We just got done with our interview with Allison Gallagher. What are your thoughts?
You'll notice in the recording that I barely said anything. She was such a joy to listen to and hear her talk so passionately about life coaching and how she helps people move forward.
And this podcast is all about the art of doing. And here we have a life coach. Would you say that there's a true art to what she is doing with her clients?
Oh, absolutely. Each client that comes to her, each person that she helps out has their own unique set of circumstances, and to be able to help that person find what they need
takes a lot of navigation.
Move forward. There's an absolute through line of creativity into making that happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, you will see that during this episode, Allison literally gives me some great life coaching, and I think it's made an impact, and I will be doing something in my future based off that impact, and maybe I'll even update that with you later. Great guest, am I right?
Fantastic.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our guest, Allison Gallagher. Don, we did it.
We did it.
Episode 2, and we are here. I can't believe we made it this far.
It seems like it was just yesterday.
Well, and you know what? All week long, I've been receiving messages about how awesome that episode was. They were all from you, but that's a start. Am I right?
Yeah. Well, I'm a dedicated listener.
Right on. Well, Don, I don't know if you know this, but back when I was doing the podcast, The Pillars of Hamilton, where I was highlighting people from this town, one of my very first guests, because I knew she brought the thunder, is sitting right across from us, right diagonal from us, right now.
Adjacent, yeah.
So I just thought it would be apropos to bring her for one of our first episodes.
Fantastic.
Well, what year was that?
It was about 2020.
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
I'm not that person. We're probably none of us are that person after COVID. We're all different.
Do you remember you brought in like a folder and you were showing me like all of your photography stuff?
I don't remember.
But you've done a lot since then.
Yeah. Evolution. As humans do.
Absolutely. Well, not everyone.
Wow.
But they should.
It's always, for me, it's always the plan.
Yeah, right on.
It's intent. I do it with intent.
Yeah, and intensity. I feel like everything you do is with intensity.
Yeah, there's good and bad to that. But I am very intense. Even when I try not to be.
Yeah.
It just shows up.
Just who you are. So please, before we get into the meat and potatoes, please tell everyone who you are.
My name is Allison Gallagher, or Allison Caracciolo Gallagher. I was a portrait photographer for a long time, Allison and Studios. I started that in 2006, though it was Lucid Photo then. And now I've transitioned into a life and business coach. I also have a networking group that meets every month, so I'm running 3 businesses. But as a coach, I help high achievers feel happy and content today and now and confident and just feel good now so that you get to where you want to go faster.
What did you call them, the people you work with?
High achievers.
Please explain that.
Just someone with a whole lot of goals. Someone wants to move fast. Someone wants to make big impact, whatever that looks like. I have clients that are entrepreneurs. I have a client right now that started her own nonprofit. And I'm helping her get that off the ground and the mindset you need and traction and sales. And
wow.
So I do some business coaching but also mindset work. Like our brain wants to talk us out of doing anything anything new.
Yeah.
So that's where a coach shows up.
Would you say that the biggest aspect to what you're teaching people is how to have the right mindset to move forward in life and accomplish what you want to accomplish? Is that like the biggest task of what you do?
It is. So our thoughts create our results. And our brain likes to tell us that our circumstance or the situations that happen in our life are what create stress. But it's our thoughts about the situation that creates stress, overwhelm, anxiety. And what we do in coaching and any type of feeling comes from our thoughts. So in coaching, we slow down. We talk about, and it's our beliefs, right? So our brain tells us that something is fact, but it might just be a belief that goes in our head over and over and over and over. And we break down those beliefs, because if you want to get to whatever your goal is, a certain amount of clients, if you want to run a marathon, if you want to start a business, write a book, but your brain's telling you it's not working, I can't do this, I don't know what to say, I can't go out and run today, whatever it is, we poke holes in those beliefs that I have nothing to say, right? Our brain's going to say, I have nothing to say. Like, I want to start a podcast, and I've recorded a few. But when I sit down to do a podcast, my brain's like, you have nothing to say.
We've been talking about this since, I think, 2020.
Right?
Me and you went back and forth a couple times.
And
I told you that you should have a podcast.
yes, and it's probably when I sit down to do a podcast, I have to fight my brain, because my brain locks up. Like, you have nothing to say. Meanwhile, people take me on their podcast and they're like, well, can you chat for 20 minutes? I'm like, I could chat for 8 hours.
I told Don, I was like, Don, this is going to be an easy interview.
It's just, I just talk and talk and talk and talk. But when you talk to nobody, right, it's different. But anyway, my brain's lying to me, telling me I have nothing to say, right? So I have to overcome that by poking holes in that belief. Your brain loves evidence, right? So if you show it evidence that you have nothing to say, it'll continue to show you that evidence. So if you want new results in your life, you have to show your brain new evidence, which means you have to either go out and create it, or you have to find it in your life. And what a coach does is we ask really powerful questions to break down the belief that isn't serving you, to create a new belief that serves wherever you want to be. Because you're not at that goal yet, because you're not the person that can achieve that goal yet. So who is that person? How do they show up? How do they spend their day? What do they think about themselves? What do they think about their clients? What do they think about their capabilities, right? We have to look at your beliefs today, and why are you not meeting that goal? You don't have somewhere there's a belief that's not fitting the goal that you want. Does this make sense?
That makes sense.
There's so many different ways to explain coaching, and there's so many different types of coaches. But I use something that's called the thought model to break down, okay, what's your thought? And a coach is a listener, right? So I'm listening to the thoughts, the sentences that are coming out of your mouth, and I'm going to say, okay, you just said X. Why? Where did that come from? Why do you believe that? Right? Because I know, because I've been coaching this person, that's not true, but their brain is telling them, oh, it's not, what I'm doing is not working. There's no wins. Meanwhile, you just told me you had the best month in your business ever, but they're like, oh, but it's not working, right? Because my high achievers want to get where they want to go really fast, and they don't like, we call it, well, one of my coaches calls it the river of misery. As you grow your business, like you're suffering through, because a lot of my clients are answer to CEOs, or they're self-employed, or have a lot of different goals, and they're frustrated because they're not moving fast enough. And I help them see that they're moving in the right direction. Or if they feel like they're not going in the right direction, I'm like, well, what does the right direction look like? And let's take the steps to get there. And we meet once a week for an hour on Zoom.
Are these people who are local, or are these people
Some
just
are
around
local.
the world?
Some are local. I've coached people that are in Europe. I've coached people in Texas. I've coached, on Zoom. It's anywhere. But some of my clients actually are local and come to the house, and they want to do face-to-face. I'm like, okay, that's cool too.
People in Europe find you?
Well, if they're traveling, then they're on vacation. But I don't have any European clients, right? But if they're from around here, like I have a huge network, especially photographers, right? Because I've been in so many different coaching
And
groups
you
for
are
photographers.
very good at networking. We can talk about that later. It's kind of your thing.
I love networking.
Which I want to get in there. I need
Oh, gosh.
I need some coaching in networking. So
Do you not like networking?
I'd say I'm a little insecure with stuff like that. I like to, you guys hanging out here, just, shooting the breeze. Like, I have no insecurities with that. I can go in front of 1,000 people and talk on a microphone, no insecurities with that. But if I were to go to one of your events where I'm dressed up in a button down and I feel like, okay, it's time to get in there and network, I'm like, ooh, what do I do?
Right. So it's you're because it's just a conversation. It could be just a conversation, right? There's a lot of people that feel uncomfortable networking. So
Do they? I'm not alone.
Oh, you're not alone.
I look at these photos you post. I'm like, look at everyone having a good old time.
You're so not alone. There are so many of my clients that don't like networking that I coach them through, and I tell them they can borrow my thoughts, right? So when I walk into a room and I don't know anybody and I'm there to network, I go to so many different rooms to network. I walk in and say, I cannot wait to see what happens because I know nobody in here, right? And I get excited by that. I get excited to see what's going to happen if I know absolutely nobody in here. This is going to be so fun. And then I just let go.
Can I be real with you?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I were you and I was going into a networking event where I didn't know anyone, I probably would feel very comfortable. It just so happens all the network events here in town, I know too many people, and too many people know me. And you want to know what my big stupid little fear is that because I don't fit the stereotype of a teacher, I get this worry in my brain that someone's going to meet me and think like, I wouldn't want to send my son. I want an old lady.
Oh wait, I'm putting my coaching hat on,
Please,
and it's like
need this.
I'm struggling to even hold back. So you're already in someone else's head before you even have a conversation with them, and then you're cutting yourself off from any potential person that could fall in love with the type of teacher you are. And why don't you let the other person decide? You get to be you. They get to decide what they want in their life, in their kid's life. But if you don't show up fully, you're robbing them of the experience of who you truly are because you're showing up with doubt. Did they ever say anything like that to you? Has anyone ever said anything like that to you?
The only thing I've ever heard, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, is, you're a teacher? Oh, you're not like the teachers I ever had.
Okay, so one person said that one time.
No, I mean, I've heard it a few times, but
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't necessarily even a bad thing,
Right.
It's just like, you're a teacher? Oh.
Okay, so no one's ever even said to you, you're not the type of teacher that I would want.
One person did.
Okay.
Over a Shabbat dinner, an Israeli guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so one person said it, and now you carry that with you. Potentially, I don't know, I might be putting words in your mouth, but you carry that with you and then stop yourself from I don't know if you are, stop me if but you might potentially stop yourself from you're going to judge someone by maybe the way they look or the way who they're talking to in the room and say, you know what, they're going to judge me as a teacher, so I'm not going to walk up to them. So you're judging them before they even judge you, and you don't even know what they're going to think about you anyway. What if you showed up fully in full excitement with who you are, and then they get to decide whether you're the right fit or not, and doesn't make you less of a teacher regardless?
Yeah. And you know what would happen is I'm the kind of guy who goes for it. Like, I just go for it in life with most things I want to do. But what does happen is I go there and I don't know. I don't want to say I put on a facade because I'm not really good at that, but I don't show my full self, if that makes sense,
And how does that feel?
Feels like shit.
Yes,
Allison
that's why
Gallagher.
you don't go. That's why that's why you are avoiding it, because you're out of integrity, right? You're not being authentic. I want to challenge you to show up to a networking event in town, not in town, and just, it's not about whose card you get. It's not about getting a new client. It's about, I'm just going to challenge myself to show up fully as myself in every conversation, to show my brain that that's totally safe, that even if someone is put off by that, that doesn't mean I'm less of a person or a teacher. I just want to show myself that it feels better to be integrity and authentic in these rooms, and I can survive that. Just make that the challenge.
You're right, and I will, and I'm going to be 100% transparent since we're going down this road anyway. I'm going to be honest with you. I messaged you a few months back, like, hey, how do I get into one of these events? I was seeing the pictures. I was like, I want to go to one of these. I honestly, this is so stupid. Maybe it's stupid. Maybe I'll be like, no, Sam, you were right. But I honestly thought, like, Allison's not going to want a message like this from someone like me. She's not going to want
You're
me
crazy.
at this.
See what your brain does?
I know.
Wait a minute. And this is not just your brain. This is everybody's brain does this, right? Because when you do something that's uncomfortable, and for everybody that's a different level, right? But when you do something that's uncomfortable, your brain's going to try to talk you out of it, right? So your brain wanted to keep you safe by telling you maybe not to message me, or not to say fully what you wanted to say, or maybe you tried a few times, or whatever it is. This is normal. This is normal brainy things, right?
The good thing is that I do go for it. Like, I'm going to message you no matter what. Yeah. But the bad thing is what's going on in my head about it. That's
well,
really...
so listen, I want you to say nothing has gone wrong. My brain's going to do the thing. And then I get to go do the thing it wants to talk me out of to prove to it that. So the part of our brain that talks us out of everything. Now, this comes from Tony Robbins. Like, this is, but the part of our brain, it's like 90 million years old, and it kept us safe at one time. Worry and fear brought us here safely as humans, right? But it doesn't serve us at the level that it tells us we're going to die, right? And so we stop doing the thing, or we avoid the thing because of fear of, what is it? Vulnerability, making a mistake, looking foolish. What is the fear, right?
The real fear for me is like, oh my God, someone big in town is going to think I'm a putz and tell everyone, and my business is going to fall apart.
Right. So I challenge you to something else we do in coaching. So one of my clients is has his own business, and I can be challenged with this too, but he's so afraid that when he goes out to network that he's bothering people. And in the coaching session, I said, okay, so let's take your brain there. You'd start talking to them and they say to you, you're bothering me. What do you do? Right? What do you do? Okay. I'm not your cup of tea. Dude, that's cool. You didn't die. It's a feeling in your body. We have all the feelings. We're human beings. We have all kinds of feelings that were given to us by the creator, by the universe, whatever it was. We were created to have all these feelings, but we try to avoid them. Meanwhile, dude, thank you. I'm bothering you. Now I know not to pursue you anymore. We won't do business together. I can move on versus having a conversation with someone who's going to lead you down a road that is never going to work with you. Meanwhile, he's up front. I'm down with up front today. Yeah. I've been coached heavily to know that if someone says to me, you're not my cup of tea, I'm like, dude, I got millions of people that I'm their cup of tea. I'm not yours. All good here, bro. And I'll just keep going because I know my worth is not connected to their opinion. Right?
Right.
And why does their opinion matter? Why? Think about that, right? And all the answers are inside. A lot of journaling. Right, we got a lot of thoughts, 60,000 thoughts a day.
Is that right?
Well,
that's what I've read.
Is that like the common ground? Like people looking to have value in other people's lives. Like what's holding people back from understanding their own intrinsic value in whether it be in some sort of communication or in a community?
Well, I think people are scared that they don't have value, or they're not communicating their value, or people aren't going to see their value, right? But I have to decide, this is the value I want to put out into the world. And especially when you're creating money, right? You create money by the value you put out in the world, right? But I think as far as people showing up in the community, they're afraid they'll be misunderstood, unimportant, dismissed, look like a fool. I mean, there's a lot of different doubts, fears, all the things. I'm coming from my perspective of me, what I've been through, and my coaching clients. But I think our brain wants to, this is the deal. Our brain wants us to live in mediocrity, doesn't want us to do anything new or challenging. It's going to talk us out of it by instilling some type of doubt to keep us safe. Right? Yeah. Quote, safe, right? Yeah. But that's a lie. Our brain is not wired for us to have happiness, right? If my goal is to run a marathon, my brain's probably not going to cheer me on, right? We have to, I've literally, through coaching, rewired the neural pathways in my brain to serve me, right? I don't serve my thoughts serve me. My thoughts serve where I'm going. And I had to purposefully create that because believe me, 5 years ago.
Yeah. So when we did this interview 5 years ago, just talking about your photography and all that, you were in a totally different place.
Totally. Right. And coaching is what, for me, I've had lots of different types of coaches. I am not the person that I was 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. My brain ruled me, right, where I would just listen and obey. Now I'm like, no, we're headed in that direction. These are the thoughts I choose to think and believe. And then you say them over and over until you create new neural pathways of literally the hamster in the wheel is going the direction I want it to go versus genetics, what I was taught as a belief system growing up. Maybe what a teacher told me that the doubt instilled in me because of some teacher's reaction. No. It comes from me and where I want to go. And that is the most, in my opinion, the most powerful act, the best way to spend your money, because now I've stopped things generationally. And everything I did, every penny I spent, every painful belief system that I had to dig at and create new, there was some deep pain that I had to go through from generational just belief systems that landed on me. They're not going to my daughter. And I knew when I was having a daughter, and especially at 2-3 years old, I took a long, hard look at myself in the mirror and I said, this is not okay to hand to her. It was handed to me. I'm not handing it to her. And I will work until my heart stops beating to be the best example of the woman that I want her to be, right? So I have to show up and be that. And I need help to do that. And that's where coaching, I've read over 100 books, but coaching books and...
Have you read the Mindset book?
Yes.
Yeah,
Mindset.
I'm in the middle of it right now.
So good.
I'm getting a lot from it.
For me, the last chapter I read over and over.
Really?
That book is so good because I lived in a lack mentality. I lived in scarcity. Okay. Scarcity and a lack mentality. Very much a victim mentality. That I don't live in that victim mentality anymore. And what the victim is, and if I can connect this now, but the victim just creates excuses because the victim is scared that they don't have the capabilities to do the thing. And so they create lots of excuses of why it doesn't happen for them, right? But deep down, it's the disbelief that you are capable, right? So when my victim rears its ugly head, I'm like, and I can feel the victim in my body, but I'm like, no, we're fully capable. You're lying to yourself that you're not capable, but you've done this, and this, so you're going to go out and do this too. May not work the first time, may not work the second time, may not work the third time, but you'll figure it out and you can do this. Right? Where before I just didn't think I was capable of doing anything ever.
Is it like almost? I'm comparing it to like lifting weights, where the first time you lift that weight's hard, second time, and before you know it, it's second nature.
Yeah.
Are you with your own mindset? Like, do you still get those thoughts that aren't working for you?
Yes.
But much easier now than ever before. You can just boom, switch.
In certain aspects, I can. In certain aspects, I struggle. I had an eating disorder growing up. I was hiding food under my bed. I don't know if I talked about this on the podcast the first time. So I was hiding food under my bed. I was 4 years old. And so hiding food and I was bullied heavily. So my relationship with food, I take 2 steps forward, a step back, 2 steps forward, a step back. My thoughts around food, my thoughts around my body. And that is more of a challenge for me than thoughts about my capabilities in business, thoughts about my capabilities to inspire and be the wife in my, in my marriage, in my relationships, as a mom, my business. That's very much easier for me to show up as the person I want to be. With my relationship with food and my body, myself, I take 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. Like, right. And the biggest thing is for everyone is to have compassion and curiosity. I wonder why I thought that thing. I wonder why I thought I needed to hide food. Right. Oh, I wonder why. Oh, I'm doing that thing I do. Right. But that's okay, because I did that for so many years. That's just a part of me today. And she thinks that she needs something. So let me be there for my little 4-year-old who is still scared.
Can you imagine how the world would change if people would be more introspective about those kind of things?
Curiosity and compassion for our kids. I wonder why she did that thing. I wonder why she rolled her eyes at me. What is going?
Right, not just don't roll your eyes at me.
Right. I'm like, Jules.
Little kids.
I'm like, Jules, is that are you okay? Is everything okay? Like, what made you do that? Did I say something? Did I upset you? Did I hurt your feelings? Was today a hard day? And for today, we can have an open conversation, and she's open to sharing with me, because I say to her, that's not who you are. So did I do something? Did I upset you? And sometimes I might say something that I don't mean to hurt her, right? Or I'm always, I forget what her name is, but it's really, all kids are good inside. We all have good in us, right? So curiosity and compassion versus judgment and punishment, right? I wonder why my husband came home and flipped out, right? He loves me. And so maybe, did he have a hard day? Babe, did something happen today? Was today a hard day? Is everything okay? Right? Curiosity and compassion versus F you, dude. Versus how dare you, right? No, it's, babe, are you okay?
There's a reason.
That I always think this person has goodness in them. So maybe and I teach that Julia with the bullies, right? I'm like, honey, maybe this person doesn't have any love at home. This person doesn't know what love feels like. You do.
Am I wrong? I feel like I remember years back you posted something about your daughter being bullied, maybe in the bus, or did you ever?
She was bullied on the bus. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
She was in kindergarten. She was in kindergarten, and for today she's in 7th grade at Hamilton, and as of now, she talks about some of the boys being mean, but
7th grade boys, man.
I mean, they're a whole thing, right? But
oh my God.
Overall, I'm like, honey, how are you? She doesn't have in 7th grade, I was bullied so bad in 7th grade. I was bullied heavily throughout grade school into high school. Heavily.
What did your bullying look like?
So in 7th grade, I had no friends in my lunch. And in 7th grade, so I went to Winslow, and we went into Edgewood, which is now Winslow Township, but it was regional. So kids you didn't know, multiple different school districts came into Edgewood in 7th grade. And so I had no friends in 7th grade lunch. And so I sat alone. And this is so terrible, but these 3 girls, and I have to say, I believed everything the bully said because I had zero self-esteem and self-worth, right? And that makes it worse. So anything that's coming out of these kids' mouths
is truth.
I'm totally I'm absorbing all of it, and it's going into my cells, right, as fact. And I had no one to talk to about it. And I had a great childhood, but there was just ways that my parents couldn't show up for me. I was a highly sensitive kid. So these 3 girls would sit there and call me a fat pig every day at lunch when I was eating my salad, and I was overweight, and I was obsessive with how fat I was, and I was not heavily obese or anything like that. But these girls, man, they targeted me. They knew that I had nobody to stick up for me, and they ran with that shit, man. And I remember not wanting to go to school.
I was called Porky for a year.
Listen, that shit. I'm telling you,
with you.
It sticks with you. Like that part of me, that 13-year-old, that 14-year-old inside of me is still very much healing. And I'm 46. And she's the one that thinks she is incapable. She's the one that has trouble loving her body. We have parts of us. That's it. Like, we're not broken. There's just parts of us that need extra love and care. That's it, right? And when I think of her, when I pause, and when I want to, berate myself for eating too much at a party or not being thin enough or whatever, when I pause and I love on the 4-year-old, the 10-year-old, the 14-year-old, even I was suicidal. I was like 18 years old, which I probably talked about with you, but I ended up in recovery. I was 22 years old for food addiction. When I think of all those stages of that girl, I'm so not that girl today, but they're still very much a part of who I am, and they're still trying to heal. And I want to give them space to heal. And I want to talk to them and love on them because that's all they need. I'm their mom now.
It's kind of cool, too, because you've taken these really awful points in your life and you've turned them into this. Not only good for you, but good for all of your clients and anyone you...
I can help my clients. And I've done inner child work where, believe me, most of the things we show up with today, and this is like, it's, I don't want to make that vague statement, but just from my experience between me and coaching and being in recovery, it comes from something that went on as a kid that's unhealed. Right? We bring it into our relationships, our marriages. Our kids trigger us. What are they triggering? They're triggering that unhealed kid inside of us, right? 1,000%, right? And for me, I want to be the best mom I can be. I want to have patience for her. And that means I got to have patience for me, right? She's I have 3 triggers: unheard, misunderstood. If I feel I am unheard, if I feel I am misunderstood, or if I feel I am unimportant, I lose my shit. And I lose my shit in my marriage when my husband doesn't listen, when I'm like really trying to share.
Is he intense like you?
Oh, he's so intense.
I see you guys. I'm like, those are 2 intense people.
Check on my daughter in like 10 years. I have no idea what's going to happen. Our house is so intense. My husband is so intense with his personal goals. Our grass is like fucking immaculate. Like
I'll need him for some tips.
Listen, everything he does has to be perfection. And I laugh because I share with him, I said, babe, the only mistake you've ever made in your entire life is marrying someone who's not as perfect as you are. And he laughs. And my intensity is my business goals. I think I could be fooling myself. Maybe I'm just intense across the board.
I got to tell Don something. So as an artist yourself, you've probably seen your fair share of photographers, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about the finished product, anything like that. All I'm talking about is the actual experience. I've never seen someone take photos like Allison. When she's taking photos, I mean, energy is blasting off of her. I mean, it is not your normal, smile, say cheese. Mm-hmm. It is just like she's getting down in crazy positions and just like making sure to get the perfect angle and making sure that the people are ready for it. I've never seen a photographer like you, and I'm not just blowing smoke. It is for real. I said it to Lisa. I'm like, look at the way she's taking photos. This is so intense.
And even coaching, you know, I've been taught to meet people where they are, right? So if they're kind of like in a depressed state, meet them, be like 2 counts above them to pull them out. I have trouble meeting people where they are. I want to reach through the Zoom and lift them up, right, with my energy. And I struggle with, sometimes I think I'm a little too much, especially when you just meet me. And I posted something on Facebook about, yes, I have big energy. It's a whole thing. And I don't know how not to have big energy. And I've had people step away from me. And I take that as, right, talk about coaching. My thought said to me, they don't feel safe. And so then I try to retract my energy and be something that I'm not, because I always want someone to feel safe around me. And I took it as they don't feel safe. No one's ever said that to me. One of my girlfriends is such an introvert and has totally different energy. She's one of my dearest friends, and she has totally different energy than me. And she said, Allison, you've never made me feel unsafe. That is like the opposite of what you make me feel. But when someone steps 2 steps away from me, I want to retract my energy, and then it gets bigger when I try to retract it. It's just who I am. I don't know. Everybody tells me it's beautiful and it's never change and all the things. And there's times I wish I did not have big energy or wasn't as intense. Intensity serves me, but also at times doesn't.
Yeah.
Intensity is exhausting. And me and my husband, like I said, we're intense different ways, right? So I try not to be intense with Julia. It's so hard, right? I don't want her. I'm afraid intensity creates anxiety.
That's why usually a yin and yang, like me and Don, we get along really well. Don's very mellow and cool-headed, and I'm like, blah! You know, it works out really well as a friendship, you know, but that's what I say. I guess opposites attract. I mean, I guess in your case.
I know, but my husband is, because I'm self-employed, like my husband is not self-employed, did not want to be self-employed. He loves knowing where his work is coming from, and he loves taking care of his family insurance and all those things. And where for me, my intensity with business, it's like, it's hard to shut it off, right?
Passion.
His intensity is, he's a perfectionist.
I mean, that's a whole thing.
I think I've let go of, I used to be a perfectionist. I think I've let go of perfectionism. I know perfectionism doesn't serve me. And I just want to strive for excellence and have compassion when I don't meet, excellence is different. On a Tuesday afternoon, you have a different level of excellence than a Friday afternoon. Did you eat? Did you sleep? Did you have a conversation that pissed you off? Did you, right? Like excellence it gives you room to be human. And I don't want, I put enough pressure on myself, right? Just to reach certain goals. I'll never reach them striving for perfection. And that's one thing that we talk about in my marriage, because, and I tried to get my husband, I said, babe, when I start a podcast, I wanted him to do it with me, but he'll come on a lot because we've been married over 20 years and we've grown a lot together. But I told, like, I don't meet his standards. And it's so interesting what I do with that, because my husband has very high standards. And what do I do with that? I can decide it doesn't matter. I can decide I'm doing my best. I can use it as, okay, these are the standards. What can I do to reach them? Not that I'm reaching his standards, but I'm being the best Allison I can be by doing X, Y, and Z, right? So let me use it that way. But some days I want to, like, how dare you, right? Like all the things, right? But my husband loves me. He loves me so much. I mean, but he is who he is.
Y'all are a cute couple.
Oh, thank you.
You guys are.
Thank you. He's away. He's away right now.
I gotta say, when I see him, I see it in his eyes. I'm like, I mean, I've talked to you for hours at this point. I've talked to him for seconds, minutes. But when I talk to him, I look in his eyes. I'm like, those are the eyes of a very intense human being.
He's extremely intense. And so I worry about my daughter being raised by she's an only child, and she's being raised by 2 very intense individuals. And you have to laugh at the science experiment That is her.
Don, are you a perfectionist? Would you consider?
No. I'd love to be a
Right.
perfectionist.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah,
It's a lot of work.
I think at this point I'm just trying things all the time. You know, like I'm escaping from the whole parental. Well, what are you gonna do? You know, like, you know, this is our life. What are we gonna do? And I just can't stomach that.
Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean?
So like, my mom wanted to be an artist, wanted to go to school, and my grandfather was like, what does a woman have to go to school for? You know, this is like 63, probably somewhere in there. And so she went and she became a secretary and worked at Sears for a long time, and then eventually worked for the school district. And when she retired, or around the retirement age, she started doing theater and really found a love for that. But it was such a long way to get there without, like.
Did she verbalize what she wanted that she didn't do, that she didn't accomplish, she wished she had regret? Did she talk about any of that? Or did you see a different side of her when she entered theater, like, wow, this is mom?
Well, yeah. I mean, she lights up.
Yeah.
She would light up when she was, doing theater and stuff.
Yep.
But she'd also, like, she was getting into theater when she was in her 60s. And she was hanging around with a lot of young people, and they didn't have the same energy or maturity that she had at that age, and trying to keep up with that, as well as trying to rediscover who she was. Like when I graduated high school, my father passed away that summer, right? So like she sort of had this sort of second, like, childhood rebirth thing, and she was going through a lot of emotions and trying to find a piece of herself. And at some point, she just wanted everybody to go away and just kind of, do her own thing. And that was kind of rough to watch. And I don't ever want to be in that position. I don't want my kids to ever see me like that. It's just
it's so hard,
rough.
right?
Yeah.
And one thing, because I lost my dad, and it's like when you lose one parent, you lose both. Right? And people don't realize that. My mom, who I knew of, was gone because he was gone, right? And so she was going through so much with losing him, and then trying to figure out who she was and it's like, it's almost too much for a human being.
Sure.
And to show up as a mom or a parent in general, it's like, you're going to be flawed. You're going to make mistakes. The truth is going to leak through to your kids, right? It's just so.
I don't think she, like, you talk about this, like, having compassion for yourself and stuff like that. And I don't think she knew how to do that for herself.
And I think most people, especially then, right? Yeah. This is like a new thing.
Sure.
Right? And having and I think it can be hard as a parent to have compassion for yourself, but it's never the wrong choice, ever.
Sure.
When I don't choose compassion for myself or for people in my life, it's like, let's choose again. Let's choose again. Because the anger, the judgment, the criticism, it doesn't get you anything. It doesn't get you anywhere. Where the compassion and curiosity is going to have a conversation. That opens up to a conversation where you're going to learn a little bit more about that person. And then you're learning about giving them space of who they are, right? And without that conversation, you just don't learn. You shut them down.
Would you say that what you do is a mix between therapy and motivational speaking?
Oh, I think there's so I'm not a therapist. I don't do therapy. I'm not licensed or anything like that. Like I have a certification for coaching, and motivation, I mean, there is some motivation in it for sure. I think I show up as a motivator that's just kind of in me. So that does happen on coaching calls, but I know where my client wants to be, and it's my job to move them in that direction. And I think motivation is a part of that. But
do you find it's more trying to get people to see the things that are blocking them, and what they need to just move out of the way so that they can move forward?
Yeah. So if there's so many different things. Like if you don't believe that you're worthy of your success, you're going to sabotage it, right? And if you there's something called success intolerance, where a client might get to a level of success, and I've done this, and then change everything. Right? I've gotten here, so let me do all this changing. And then it's like you can't just let it ride to your success, right? You have to, because you don't realize it's coming from a place of intolerance or feeling unworthy. When everything's going right, then you make changes in your business. Right? And it almost sabotages it, right? And that comes from your glass ceiling, right? Is only so high, right? So you have to build your capacity for what you can tolerate. And that's maybe clients, that's even physically, right? Lifting weights or running, or it's how much money you think you can make, right? There's a huge, especially with women, what you think you're worth, what you're capable of creating in your life, right? And even money is created through your thoughts. It's created through what you put out into the world. Like you have control over that too, right? And so if you don't think you're worthy, or I heard a coach say the other day, if you don't trust people, how are you going to go out and sell your business? And if you've had trauma with relationships in your life, and you have a deep belief that you can't trust people, how are you going to go out and serve people through your business, right? Or as a teacher, right? And there's so many professions where you're dealing with other people, and if you have this deep belief that you can't trust people, or people are not trustworthy, that's going to show up in all aspects of their life, and maybe you don't realize you have that belief until we have a conversation, and I hear the thoughts coming out, and I ask questions about why does this feel unsafe or whatever it is. A coach can help you get to the bottom of those beliefs and start to poke holes in them. And it's not going to happen overnight, but it happens faster than most people think.
Now, where do you think, like, I know we this, I guess, kind of an art club thing, but like artists, there's so many artists, so many talented people out there who just get in their own way with things. Like, what do you think is like the reason why they don't trust that they're good enough to have a place at the table for things?
Well, did you ever read The War of Art?
Oh, it's so good.
I haven't.
Yeah, you gotta read that book. You gotta read that book. And really, this book is going to sum up, because it's generalizing the artists and the inner war in our minds. It's been a long time since I read that book.
I read it like a year ago.
But
recommended by Joe Rogan. I was like,
oh, sweet. Yeah, I read it. I think one of my business coaches had me read it, but for photography.
So good.
But why do artists, I think because we're attached to our product, right? And so I remember putting my, I went to the Art Institute of Philadelphia. It's so sad it's not there anymore. But I remember being critiqued and putting my artwork up on the wall and not being capable of the critique, right? Emotionally, I couldn't handle it.
The positive, anything.
I don't remember. It's, with the bad stuff, it's just easier to believe, right? So, So I remember the harsh ones.
Yeah.
And
right, you can have 100 positive.
Oh, yeah.
It's that one negative.
Oh, totally.
Comment. And
I don't remember the pictures they were about, but I remember and I had terrible self-talk, right? Yeah. So it was like I was 20, 21, and 19, 20, 21, and I would just berate myself. I would just absolutely berate myself after those classes, and because if that was crap, I'm crap, right? And I'm never going to amount to anything. And it's just, it's sad, but it's just easier to talk to myself like that than, all right, you go out and experiment, you try again, right? Like I don't see today, I just don't see failure as it even exists. Like failure doesn't exist to me. It's all an experiment, right? And then you analyze the experiment. Did you get the result you want? If not, we try something else. Maybe we tweak something a little bit and go back, or maybe we scrap that whole thing and try again. But there's a road to every result you want. You just keep trying until you get that result. And if you don't want that result anymore, you stop trying, right? And that's it. It's not failure, right? But as a 20-year-old, I just thought I was a failure.
Sure.
I was not going to amount to anything. Sure. I wasn't capable. I wasn't worthy. That was the ongoing tape in my mind. Where did it come from?
Seeing you to this day.
This is what I'm saying.
It's hard to believe that's
this is what I'm saying. Like some people see me today and they don't realize that I'm a product of my product. Okay. Totally.
I love that.
And
that should be a t-shirt. I'm a product of the product.
Yeah. I mean, and that's really that's why I moved into the industry and I started coaching, and I moved into the industry really fast, and I started coaching really quickly because to me, there's nothing more powerful than helping someone transform their life. But for some reason, there was a tape in my head that was, I'm not worthy. And I played it so much that it showed up in every aspect of my life. I sabotaged my relationship with my husband when we were dating. I gained 65 pounds in art school in 2 years.
Whoa.
I wore the same pair of pants every day for like months and months, like the same outfit. Yeah, like I was a hot freaking mess.
That sounds like depression.
Oh my God.
That's like
I was a mess. I ended up in recovery for food addiction. I was in recovery for food addiction for 12 years, but I've been in and out of therapy.
When you talk about food addiction, do you just mean you were pigging out at night? Like, what, stop yourself?
So yeah, binge. So there's anorexia, right? There's bulimia, and binging is another aspect. And even one of my coaches said this, because it's just their feelings. Feelings are vibrations in our body, right? That's it. Feelings aren't going to kill us. They're not even going to hurt us. It's just it's a discomfort of a vibration. That's all a feeling is. It's a vibration in your body.
I mean, don't you think it can hurt you mentally?
Yeah, but that physically it cannot.
Not, yeah.
Mentally, it's what you think about that feeling. That's it.
Yeah. That's
it, right? So, but it's just a vibration in your body. And what binging does, it's like the vibrating of the glass, right? When it's empty, when you hit a glass with like a spoon, the way it vibrates is different when the glass is full of water, right? Same with our body. When you fill your body with food, the vibrations of the feelings almost goes away, like it numbs it, right? And I couldn't handle feeling my feelings, and so you stuff yourself with food to not feel. And for me, it was a ton of shame. I carry shame, and shame is I'm a mistake, right? Not I made a mistake. It's I am broken, right? And I also would eat to punish myself for not being good enough.
Like I'm already shit. I'm just gonna eat. Fuck it. Kind of thing.
Yep. And but I ate my way through those terrible critiques in Philly, right? I just would leave and just stuff myself full of food to punish myself and to numb the feeling. I think at the same time, right? Some of it I still haven't unpacked fully, but it was just an inability to handle the critic or the choices I made the art that I created. Like, that's it. It's not me. It was just art that I decided to create. And I just see it so differently today that I can process and separate a mistake, whatever that looks like in my life, or showing up and thinking it's quality work, but maybe it was subpar. Like, it's all an experiment today, but, I've changed so much from I'm unworthy to, I just don't even think that today. Now, the belief can show up, and I question, is this because I feel unworthy, or I'm always leery that thought is there somewhere. But I don't believe that today. I don't believe that I'm not worthy, and it's so funny because I take all these risks, and I've changed my business model in photography. And
are you still all in photography as well?
I am. I mean, I am still a portrait photographer, but I'm kind of transitioning out. I'm still serving my clients. I still love serving my clients.
You do have a passion for it.
I do.
Okay.
I have more of a passion for coaching, so probably in a few years I'll be a full-time coach and move away from photography. And then I started my networking group, right? So I just create these businesses, and my husband, there's times where it's affected our household. It's affected our marriage. It's affected, just the things that we do in life because I've made certain choices and in my business. And there are times where I just find myself, I would just apologize over and over again to him and thank him over and over again for giving me space to be myself. And I think I realized that came from the belief that I wasn't worthy. Right? And so that's how that would show up, is I would constantly, babe, thank you so much for let me do this. Like, thank you so much for giving me space to be me. Like, thank you so much for sacrificing X, Y, and Z so I can do the thing. And my husband doesn't care, right? He just wants me happy. He knows a happy wife is a happy mom, right? Is a happy life. Yeah.
Mom.
And I'm not,
so
and I'm not doing anything that's like crazy sacrifices, but when you're an entrepreneur, it affects your marriage sometimes, and I would just apologize to him over and over and thank him over and over. And I realized that was coming from the belief of me not being worthy. So I had to constantly apologize. So I checked in my head, oh, I'm doing that because I don't think I'm worthy. Like, that's why I'm doing that. Right. And then I decide, but I am worthy. And my husband loves me unconditionally. And I care more than he cares about some of the decisions that I've made or whatever, You know what
I love about your business too is that you have your own life coach, right?
Oh, totally.
It's like if every business worked like that.
Oh my God.
Where you looked up to someone. Not a lot of businesses have that.
And I have 2 coaches, and I have a therapist.
You do?
I have a therapist who helps me show up, helps me navigate my childhood relationship with food with Julia, right? And I believe that a therapist can help me more with that than my coach helps me with my beliefs about myself as a parent, but I want tactics to help navigate cell phone, to help navigate my daughter can emotionally overeat. And go ahead.
Can I tell you why I love this? It's because a lot of people are looking for their guru. They're looking for the person who's got it all figured out. And that's the person who's going to tell me how to be, and they're going to be right, and they don't make mistakes, and they've got it all figured out. And that person is fake. That's bullshit, and
totally.
They're probably just trying to get your money or something else. It's much better to have someone out there with their faults and know that they can learn from their faults. And if they can learn from their faults and strive, then I could learn from them how they did it and how whatever they did can impact me, and their knowledge, wisdom can impact me. I think this is a perfect modern version of what coaching should be. I remember at one point in my life thinking that, like, I need to find someone who's got it all figured out. And then you realize as you get a little older, shit, no one's got it all figured out. But if I can find someone who, like Socrates, I'm wise because I know nothing. Someone who knows that they know nothing but can learn and keep gaining that wisdom from their own faults and from people who are better at it than they are, and then pass it off to the world who needs it. I think it's fantastic.
One of my coaches said, and I'm grateful that I'm aligned with this, the best coaches are living in transformation, right? If you're resting on your laurels, how dare you? show up as a coach and not be working on your shit, because we all got shit. And I am in the trenches building my capacity along with my coaching clients. And I'm not going to stop building my capacity and challenging who I think I can become until I'm gone, right? And I'm doing that because it's fun. Who can I become?
It's got to be very rewarding.
Dude, it's so fun. Like, who can I become? And then my daughter is watching. I am challenging myself to show up feeling happy, content, abundant, sufficient today, even though I got a whole lot of goals that I'm not even close to attaining, right? Because if you don't feel good here, if you don't feel confident here, if you don't feel content here, well, how are you going to feel when you get to your goal? You're not, you people think once I reach this, I'll be confident. Once I reach this, I'll be content. It's a fucking lie. It is a lie.
There's no end.
There's no end, because there's going to be another goal, right? If you feel sufficient.
That's the killer, right?
Oh, yeah. So,
I did it. I'm done.
So sufficiency, when you come from a place of sufficiency, which means I am enough and I have enough.
And I'm done, right? Like,
well, then no matter where you're going, it's just a bonus. Right? And then you're most likely going to get there faster. I have what I need to move forward. I am enough to move forward. Mm-hmm. Let's fucking go. Right? And that's what I want to teach my daughter. If I don't feel content today, then like what my coach says, you're in the river of misery, because my goals are so far away that why am I going to wait till I get there to be happy? Let's feel happy now. And what does that look like? Right? And then you look around at your life and say, how can I be happy here? And it's a beautiful question that challenge your brain, because our brain's like, it's not good here. You're not good here. You need to be there. You need to have that. You need to do that. You need to see what that person's doing. Oh, the comparison, right? No, I can feel sufficient where I need nothing in this moment from anyone. And I don't live there, but I know how to come back to it. And when I teach my daughter to be sufficient, I mean, you're unstoppable and nothing can penetrate you. No bully, no dick boss, right? When you feel sufficient in your body and who you are, and then you can show up confident in integrity, nothing can stop you, right? And that's the shit we should be teaching our kids.
Absolutely. Damn it. I'm going to this fucking next meeting of yours, and I'm going to network the shit out of those people. I'm probably just going to shoot the shit, but I'm going to do it confidently and feeling
Just challenge yourself to say, how can I show up as myself fully? And when my brain offers me that it's not good enough, say, I know you're there. Like, and I've said this in so many different rooms, but doubt can be riding in the car, but it's not driving. I'm driving, right?
Oh.
And so
that's
doubt.
Another shirt.
Right? Doubt can be, and my coach said this to me. So my doubt can be, fear can be there, inadequacy can ride in the car, but I'm driving, right? And what does that look like? So I walk into the networking group, and maybe there's 10 other coaches in the room. How can I feel sufficient in the coach that I am and feel excited for who I'm going to meet? What does that look like? And doubt can say, but you don't know this, and you're not certified in that, and that person knows way more people and is more connected or whatever. Well, that thought can ride in the car with me, right? I can do it scared. We can do it scared. You know? You can do it and still be scared. Right? And what does that look like? Right?
Half things I do in my life, I am scared, and that makes it worth it when I succeed. So
totally. Right?
Even with the podcast, with pro wrestling, with teaching, with anything I do, I'm like, if I'm not feeling scared, then I'm not feeling it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I wanna push myself. How uncomfortable can I get?
I love that.
Right? And there's a level of intensity.
And think about so many people out there who just do everything they can to be as comfortable as they can. And where does that get you in life?
It's no fun.
It's one way to live life, but it's not the way I want to live. I don't think it's
and I feel like people that do that, and I could generalize, but they're probably frozen in fear.
You're probably right.
Sure. I mean, nothing grows from being comfortable. Nothing
Right.
like, seeds are under pressure in order to
Someone
become
who is
plants,
sitting in comfort
Yeah.
that we see comfort, I feel sad for them because that's not what life is supposed to be about.
You know, I hope she never listens to this. But my mom, she has lived a life of comfort from the moment I've been born till this very day, where she's had a maid, she's had the husband who makes a lot of money. She didn't have to work. Someone watched over us. He passed away this summer. She's already with a guy who can make her feel comfortable. She's never had those difficult tasks. I think she's happy, and that's fine for her, but that wouldn't be fine for me, and I don't think it'd be fine for anyone at this table to ride it out in this life of comfort.
Nope.
I love her. She's a wonderful mom, but it is what it is. She lives a life of comfort, and whatever goes along with that life of comfort, I want nothing to. I love you, Mom. You're wonderful. But I get a lot more out of feeling uncomfortable in my personal life and making things happen, whether it be a wrestling show or a podcast or teaching or hosting the Ham Fest, which we definitely have to promote. Let's do some promotion. So,
I
dude.
think by the time this airs, Hamfest will be behind us.
When
All
is
right,
that?
so I hope you all enjoyed Ham Fest. Forget that. Allison, for the people who are listening, I can't imagine anyone listening won't be inspired by that. If they want a life coach, and even if they want a photographer, how would they get in touch with you? And just give them your info.
So AllisonGallagher.com or AllisonAndStudios.com is my website. If you are interested in coaching, what happens is we would do a free clarity call where you would tell me where you are and where you want to be, and I would help you and tell you the steps we would take to get you where you want to go. And so when you leave that call, you're already aware of what you're not doing that you need to do. And then if you decide to work with me, you work with a coach, you absolutely get to where you want to go faster. It's like my one coach said, it's like getting on the rocket ship. And that's what I love about it, because I want to move really fast. And that's what I help my clients do. So if you are wanting a result in your life that you are having trouble attaining, I can help. And that's AllisonGallagher.com. My Instagram is your coach, Allison Gallagher, or Allison and Studios. And I'm Allison Caracciolo Gallagher on Facebook. But that's it.
There are teachers, there are motivators, there are life coaches out there who are great. And I know you're one of them because you're so passionate about it. I feel like I got a little free session right here, which I appreciate. And the coolest thing, too, is I feel like you're not the type of person who is going to think, I got it now. Let's just keep going. You're the kind of person who's going to think, okay, how could I be even better life coach? And just continually being motivated to being the best life coach you could be. It's so clear that that's the person you are, and I just think you're a rock star.
Oh, thank you. Listen, I love podcasting. I love conversation. I love intimate conversation, right? Not about the weather, right?
I hate weather.
Right?
I hate small
I want to talk
talk.
about the real
Sure.
shit.
Sure.
And some people don't want to talk to me about the real shit. That's okay. They're not my people.
Yeah.
No.
But I love this. I'm gonna
When you start a
sleep so good at night.
podcast, if you ever want to teach a pro wrestler, an artist, or
I
whoever,
love it.
we are here for it.
Thank you. I've recorded several on my phone.
You did.
And and I'm like, do I let someone listen to them to analyze them, or do I just put them out into the world and say,
put 'em out.
screw it,
Put 'em out in the
right?
world.
Be vulnerable, feel all the feelings, and
Yeah.
just do it.
Just do
Yeah, who
it.
gives a shit?
You know,
Just it's out
because some
there.
of it, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, this is probably confusing. This feels confusing, right? All the thoughts that go through your head that would stop me from releasing them, but it doesn't matter. This is one thing that I say, and I just taught a seminar to women about selling. You can't say the wrong thing to the right person, right? And so I could just release that podcast, and it's going to make sense to the right people, right?
Sure.
And I'll get better as I go.
Sure.
You know, so I'm this close to putting them out. But once I know I'm going to fall in love with podcasting.
Yeah, you'll be amazing. And we're here if you need help. You can
Thank
use
you.
my friggin' whatever you need.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Allison Gallagher.